This is southern Jordan, the busy road through the desert to the Red Sea port of Aqaba. Jordan is one of the most water-impoverished countries in the world. 92% of its land is dry. It's a monumental task to provide its people with water. Compounding the problem, worn-out pipes mean at least half of the available water is lost to leakage. And where water can escape, pollution can get in, leading to several recent incidents of water contamination. Water's one of the major issues facing the newly launched Mediterranean Union. Khaldoun Jazibanawe grew up in northern Jordan, where pockets of green still exist. He left his home in Irbid 12 years ago to work in Aqaba as a water quality engineer. Aqaba is a successful tourist destination and also Jordan's only outlet to the sea. To ensure industry and tourism can work side by side, Banawe regularly checks the harbour for pollutants. They could harm not only the tourist trade, but Aqaba's beautiful coral reefs nearby.
The water means the life, and it's the life for us and for the marine and for the fish and for the coral and so on. So we want to keep all of these things because it's life. So we're working for the environmental, and one of the essential part is the water. In
the centre of Aqaba, a brand new laboratory is checking the standard of the water and the quality of the air and the food. The need for water is so vast that only if the Mediterranean Union can coordinate all the countries in the region will the problems be solved.
We are working and developing our research activities and joint projects with all the countries around, since Aqaba lies in a central position in the region. We are very near to Israel, Egypt and Saudi Arabia. That's why we are trying to enhance our research capabilities in terms of having cooperation with all the related countries, because pollution, if we want to talk about pollution, knows no borders, so it is a shared responsibility.
Every day, some 50 water samples are tested here. But the scientists have far-reaching ambitions: hazardous waste management, integrated water resource management, testing the impact of reclaimed water on soil and crops, as well as producing complete studies assessing the state of the local environment. Even though Jordan is not strictly on the Mediterranean, it has always played a full role in regional projects. Those projects have now been embraced by the Mediterranean Union.
Je crois que d'abord le rêve que nous avons tous, c'est que cette région de la Méditerranée.
I believe, first and foremost, and this is the dream we all have, that the Mediterranean must live and work together.
Et ses approvisionnements.
Europe has its particular interests, security and trade, while the Arab nations also have their interests, improving life and living in peace.
C'est un dialogue. Il marche pas mal. Il marche pas mal parce que ce sont des gens qui recommencent.
We need to talk. It's not going too badly, not badly at all, because people are starting to talk again. But we can see that 10, 12 years is not enough.
L'Union pour la Méditerranée.
So the Mediterranean Union's there to play a role. Political links, yes, must continue, but let us try to build stronger, more practical links.
Un peu plus pratique, concret.
In a nutshell, then, the Union must focus on economic and technical cooperation, like here in Aqaba, where the European Union is setting up and paying for air quality monitoring stations to keep an eye on pollution. But that's just part of a much wider project here at the Aqaba Special Economic Zone. The Jordanian parliament gave its blessing to a private sector plan to attract investors through a free port with special tax advantages. It's hoped to be the driving force behind Jordan's whole economy. The EU donated €10 million under the condition that it's economically and environmentally sustainable. More than €7 million of EU money went into the state-of-the-art Ben Hayyan laboratory. One of its major tasks is food safety. Since Jordan relies heavily on imports, the lab tests a whole range of food products, like these pistachio nuts. The lab also hopes to offer its testing expertise to its neighbours in the region.
Here in the lab we can do all the important food safety tests. They're vital to our consumers. It means we can monitor the safety of all people living here in Jordan.
Food and water. Jordan's going to need a lot more of both in the future, with its population growing at 3.5% a year. One radical solution to the water problem could be the Red Dead Sea Canal project. It could provide Jordan with 500 million cubic metres of water each year, but it faces major problems. The economic and political hurdles, the multi-billion euro cost, and the fluctuating relations between Israel and the Arab world, to name but two. The World Bank has a feasibility study running at the moment, looking at possible routes and checking their impact. The idea is to pump water to the Dead Sea and build a desalination plant there. And there are pockets of promising news. Behind these mountains on Jordan's border with Saudi Arabia, investigators have found vast amounts of trapped fresh water. Samples from one aquifer suggest the water's been there for 40,000 years. Plans are being drawn up to pipe that precious water 320 kilometres all the way to the capital Amman. The only downside is that the underground reservoir is sealed. In time, the water will simply run out. The demand for water in Jordan is constantly rising, boosted by an influx of 750,000 refugees fleeing the war in Iraq. Consumption is forecast to double by 2015, sparking urgent calls for action all over the region, not just here in Jordan. And that's where the Mediterranean Union comes in. It says it's time to stop quarrelling over frontiers and talk practicalities.
It is possible that the great economic problems of the moment, like water, like energy, will force people to accept that they must work together to stimulate greater cooperation. And the Mediterranean Union can play a role in that.
Donner une crédibilité à notre processus, c'est le rôle de l'Union pour la Méditerranée.
Depoliticising the issue is the mantra. But the launch of the Mediterranean Union sparked an immediate political squabble. Should the Arab League itself join the Union? Arguments over the question prompted Jordan to cancel a ministerial conference on water, forcing the European Union and Israel to accept the Arab League's application for membership. The Union's new framework will be tested later this month when the Water Conference finally opens for business. In Jordan, of course.